It's Tuesday, March 12th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On Barnstable Today, we talk heroes and retirements with Chief Sonneman, take a deep dive into the blue economy with the Cape Cod Chamber, and it's your final reminder to send in that town census. Now for a look at municipal news and notes. Thousands of people lined Route 28 this past Saturday morning to view the annual Cape Cod St. Patrick's Day Parade. This year's parade honored fallen Yarmouth Police Department Sergeant Sean Gannon and K9 Nero. Police agencies from across the Cape as well as Mass State Police marched in the parade. The town of Barnstable was well represented. Here are a few images from the day. Police officers from near and far spent this past Saturday morning celebrating and honoring one of their own. The theme of this year's Cape Cod St. Patrick's Parade in Yarmouth was the spirit of community, and that spirit has reached far beyond the Cape, to the wider New England region and across the ocean. The theme came from the Parade Committee's decision to honor Yarmouth Police Sergeant Sean Gannon, who was shot and killed in the line of duty April 12, 2018. The annual St. Patrick's Day Parade brought law enforcement from England and Ireland, the police commissioner from Boston, and over 50 K9 units who followed Grand Marshal, retired K9 officer Peter McClellan, and K9 Nero, who he nursed back to health. The town of Barnstable was well represented. From Chief Sonneman and the Barnstable Police Department, Officer Fulham and K9 Vonnie, and Officer Jackson and K9 Rocco. There was a contingent of COM Fire and EMS, the Barnstable Cape Cod SWAT team, and the Bearcat. The youth of Barnstable marched with Barnstable Recreation, Barnstable Hockey, and the YMCA Teen Achievers. And even the dogs of Barnstable made it down the parade route, bringing smiles to everyone they met. The spirit of community runs deep on Cape Cod. For Sean. Chief Sonneman joins us in studio for his weekly conversation. Today, it's celebrating the heroes among us and the dedicated service of a longtime member of the Barnstable Police Department. Milestones and awards with me today, Chief Sonneman.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Wonderful. It was a wonderful parade.
It was a fantastic parade.
Very
It was a
enjoyable.
lot
Very
of
nice.
people
Yes.
and a lot of officers.
There were a few, a couple here and there.
Right?
Yeah.
You marched
time.
with the.
I did with the Chiefs, and we were right behind the Weymouth Color Guard, so it was good. Nice. It was nice. We could go by and talking to people, and it was a good gathering. They did a good job.
Excellent. Awards and retirements are the topics today. Let's start with an award, the Carnegie Award. This week, the 13th.
The 13th, Wednesday the 13th at 10 at the BPD. Dave Duncan helped Officer Mealy out. Officer Mealy was down on Main Street 2017, was responding to a call, investigating somebody, and the guy became belligerent. They ended up in a struggle, and while they were struggling there on Main Street, another guy, a friend of the guy that Officer Mealy was struggling with, came up behind him with a knife. Mr. Duncan was hanging out in the area, saw it, and disarmed the guy and held him off until other officers could arrive. So real hero stuff, real good stuff.
Right. Talk a little bit about, citizens don't normally put themselves in those positions. That must have been pretty scary.
No, not typically. I mean, there are good people out there. There are good people that run out and help you and help other people. But you're right. It seems a little few and far between these days. It seems like when more people want to, stay out of the fray and observe as opposed to jumping in there. So we're certainly appreciative that he did jump in there. Officer Million is definitely appreciative that he jumped in and helped him out. But obviously, Mr. Duncan looked at it, assessed the situation, realized the officer needed help, and jumped in. And some people just don't know what's going on. It's hard to say. You drive by something, you don't really know what's going on, but we certainly appreciate the help whenever we can get it.
All right. Talk a little bit about the award. How did this award come about?
Well, the Carnegie Foundation, they were established by Andrew Carnegie to really reward acts of heroism and selfless service, not just heroism, but selfless service within the community, and he established this fund. And I don't know how they became aware of it, but they are out there, they're paying attention to things, they hear about it, whether it was on the news or whatever, because it did make the news when it happened. They get aware of it, they proceed, and they investigate it, and they contacted us and let us know that they were going to be investigating this and they wanted to give him the award, and eventually, after they vetted the whole thing out, they decided to award him with the Carnegie Medal. So he gets a medal and a little bit of money and in recognition of his good works.
And this happens when?
Wednesday the 10th. Wednesday at 10 on the 13th. See now? Now I'm talking like a newscaster.
Right, exactly. Can the general public come?
We did send a press release out, so it's out there. It's
Okay.
people have heard about it it has been on the news, on the radio and stuff, so it is out there, and people want to stop by, come on by.
Okay, station on Finney's Lane.
Finney's Lane.
Excellent. And a long beloved school resource officer, Reed Hall, going to take his final
A
walk
man
down.
of many hats. Reed Hall is retiring after 44 years with the Barnstable Police Department. He initially started out walking the beat out on Main Street from Ocean Street down to C Street. So 7:45 on Friday, Friday the 15th, we are going to say goodbye to Reed. And the public is invited and can come in. And after we say goodbye at the final roll call, he wants to walk his beat one last time. So we're going to come down and walk the beat with Reed Hall.
44 years, is that kind of an anomaly in service for police? It seems an awful long time to do that
I think
job.
it's in this job, yeah, in this day and age and the stress and everything, but in any career, that's a really long time for someone to be doing, devoting themselves to work and in one place for a long period of time. And certainly we're thankful that he decided to devote his time and attention to the Barnstable Police Department. And a lot of people out there that were the benefits of Reed Hall's expertise, and worked with a lot of kids over the years as a school resource officer, as a detective, certainly investigated many things over his tenure at the Barnstable Police Department. And the Honor Guard, he was a cornerstone of the Honor Guard with the Barnstable Police Department, going to many public events and representing the Barnstable Police Department. In fact, marching out in front of the St. Patrick's Day Parade this past Saturday, his last parade. So really appreciate Reed and for being around there. And Reed, thanks for your service. Really appreciate it.
Fantastic. So two really good, feel-good stories, a medal for a citizen and a retirement for Reed Hall.
Yeah, a little bittersweet. A little bittersweet. Thank you, Reed.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Just a correction. Detective Reed Hall will make his way down Main Street one last foot patrol on the morning of March 22nd, not the 15th. Recognizing that the Cape Cod region's environment is its economy, the blue economy balances our economic and environmental health, creates a new regional identity focused on pride in our water and coastal resources, and supports a sustainable year-round economy for its residents. Chris Adams, Cape Cod Chamber's Chief of Staff, joins us in studio to talk about innovation and the blue economy works for Cape Cod. A growing movement here on Cape Cod, the blue economy. With me today, Chris Adams, Chief of Staff for the Cape Cod Chamber. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So the blue economy, we've been hearing this phrase for quite a few years now. It's started probably at least 5 years ago that I know of. It's always been here though. Hundreds of years the Cape has enjoyed the blue economy. Tell viewers at home really what this is in today's context.
I guess in its simplest terms, one thing we've done is given a name, as you alluded to something that's always existed here but never had its own identity. And it's really an umbrella term for all of the water-related or water-based industries that exist in our region. The Blue Economy Project started just over 4 years ago at the Chamber, and it came out of a strategic planning session of our Board of Directors. And they were posed with the question of what's the next big thing for Cape Cod. Certainly tourism is our base economy right now, and will likely continue to be for a long time, with a little luck. But it has its challenges. It has its its pluses and minuses. So what can we do to try and stabilize our economy going forward, soften the bell curve that we currently have in the service economy, and in a lot of ways look at what do we have that we're not fully leveraging in terms of economic opportunities. So the work of the Blue Economy Project, which was supported by the Governor's Seaport Economic Council through a grant, really is two buckets of work. It's one is really sort of strictly workforce development, economic development work. And a lot of that is focused on the Woods Hole community and how can we do a better job trying to gain opportunities to keep technologies that are developed there here and develop them into commercialized products and businesses. The other real big piece of the project is what we're calling really regional identity, and it's making this idea of a blue economy part of who we identify ourselves with as a region. And if you really think about it, most people that live here on Cape Cod are here because they want to be, not because they have to be. They've made a choice to be here, and it's not always the easiest place to start a business or make a living. But there's some connection to the place that people have latched onto that's become part of who they are, and in some cases have fought out an existence here. So in most of the time that has something to do with a connection to the water, whether it's you love going to the beaches or swimming or boating or fishing or whatever the case may be. There's some sort of water connection or coastal resource connection that's there. So how do we use that common binding interest that we have as a community, make that part of our identity, a sense of pride of who we are as a place, and use that to make sure that we protect the environment, because there's a recognition that the environment is our economy here, and that if we don't have healthy water and coastal resources, the rest of our economy becomes very challenging.
Right, and it's kind of interesting as the Blue Economy Initiative started in the project, wastewater's really come to the forefront here, nitrogen, obviously in our coastal waters, but the economy can actually be driven by some of the challenges that we face. So
No
some
doubt.
of these technologies out there really could kind of, grow here organically on Cape Cod.
Yeah, wastewater is a great example of turning a challenge into an opportunity, and there's great economic opportunities there as we move forward with implementing the Regional 208 wastewater improvement plan. One of the unique things in that plan is a matrix of alternative sewering technologies that can be deployed by towns. There's essentially a menu of options that towns have, both at the source of nitrogen and then also in the embayments, to craft a solution for a particular body of water that works for that community. And that, in effect, also brings down the cost of implementing projects by billions of dollars over the Cape. So, but there is an opportunity there as this new industry is created here for companies to want to come, and we already have a test facility, but test their products and then try and sell those to the towns to have them commercialized. So, right, there's sort of a burgeoning opportunity there for wastewater.
Right, and there also seems to be this component, you had a very successful event that sort of opened students' eyes, juniors and seniors, of this area of all of the high schools, this STEM event that was really focused on, geez, you know what, there's some cool industries here right on Cape Cod. So speak a little to that event and how this could help us retain some of our young workforce.
Sure, it was an incredible event. It was called Waterworks. It was January 8th at Cape Cod Community College, and we had 300 high school students from the Cape, the islands, and just off Cape, Wareham, Plymouth area. 52 businesses attended, all in the water-related spaces, from marinas and boat builders to aquaculturists to natural resource officers, and then marine technology, science education. So it was an incredible event. And our idea there was really not so much a job fair, but a job showcase. So we have this belief that most of the people here on Cape Cod have that came back to Cape Cod had a connection here before they, that was part of the decision to be here. So if we can instill in our youth an idea of the opportunities that already exist here, because you hear all the time there's no good jobs on Cape Cod, and it is truly a myth. There are a lot of good jobs here. So we said, let's show the kids what the jobs are. So it was an opportunity for us to get in front of kids, talk about what the blue economy is, how you're a part of it, then also actually show them that there is this whole economy of job opportunities and jobs that exist today and will exist, years from now
Right.
for them here if they want to come back home and grab them.
There's nothing cooler than seeing an ROV either.
There's
those
some
remote
amazing,
underwater vehicles.
yeah. There's truly Woods Hole is the premier world-class marine education, science, technology center in the world, and yeah, there's so much fascinating stuff that goes on down there that so few people that live here know about.
Right. So we're talking initiatives, and there was one that's just been funded, and you talk about identity. This new initiative really is going to help teach, I guess, our, not just our tourists, but also residents, the maritime and the connection to water. Talk a little bit about the new initiative that was just funded.
Sure, so it's called Expedition Blue. It was funded through a grant from the Seaport Economic Council, who's been a tremendous supporter of this whole initiative. Between the governor, lieutenant governor, and Carolyn Kirk, who until recently was the Deputy Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, but also the former mayor of Gloucester. I get that spun around. And while she was the mayor of Gloucester, she created what's called the Gloucester Harbor Walk. And that is essentially a trail that tells the story of downtown Gloucester and Gloucester's history, its industry, its people. It's sort of loosely based on that, but really it's an experience trail that tells the story of our maritime heritage, our rich maritime heritage here, but ties it into our modern maritime economy, our marine and water-based economy. And it really demonstrates how, as a region, although we're 15 towns that can be very provincial at times, really 24 towns when you talk about the islands of Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, in Plymouth, Wareham area, which frankly, without the canal would be part of Cape Cod, or they believe certainly are part of Cape Cod, are really interconnected in a lot of ways when you take the town boundaries away. So so it really tells that story, and as you said, it'll speak greatly to our visitors, and the whole sense of pride thing that I was talking about too in place. The importance of that also is that if we have that sense of pride and we can communicate that to the millions of people that come here to enjoy this place that we love for the same reasons, it helps them understand what we're about and have a healthy respect for maintaining the importance of our environment. So basically it will be installations throughout the Cape, and we'll be developing a strategy to work with the towns to do some site selection. We want certainly the towns to have an opportunity to choose their sites if they wish to, and if not, we'll go to private organizations and businesses and find sites. And there'll be a very specific criteria for site selection. Obviously, we're going to want to pick sites that have high visitation already. So clear visitor centers where there's a lot of foot traffic will be important. But it will be important for our students certainly to help them learn about the blue economy, and also for the rest of us that live here. And another thing that it does is really this whole marketing, branding, regional identity thing is it literally puts us on the map and really gets us out into the communities, and another way to talk to people about the ideas.
I love the initiative, and I think there's so much opportunity. One of the things that we love to do is to go someplace we've never been before on Cape Cod. My husband has lived here, was born at Cape Cod Hospital in the 50s, and there's still so many places that we go and saying, geez, I never realized that started here, or that is something that is part of our heritage here on the Cape. So what a wonderful idea.
Yeah, we do the same. We'll sneak up to Provincetown for a weekend, and you feel like you're miles and miles away from home, and it's 45-minute drive. So
right,
that's nice.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fantastic. How can people find out more information about the Blue Economy and about this initiative?
Sure. So our website is bluecapecod.org. So we have all the information there, and just more to come. We have a fascinating short YouTube video on our website as well that tells the story of our region's blue economy. And actually, we have another video that really describes in a whiteboard method how we came about this project and what it's evolved to. So
excellent. Thanks so much for joining us, Chris.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Town Clerk Ann Quirk says the clerk's office is still accepting the town census. Don't forget to send yours in. Your vote depends on it. Sign it and send it in, says Ann Quirk, Town Clerk. That's the census we're talking about. And you're back with important news for our residents. It's census time.
It is census time, and you should be seeing those coming out in the mail soon.
Okay, so within the next couple of weeks, folks will see those census. Let's start with, they're not the same as a federal census, right? They're different.
They are very different. The federal census will be 2020, and they'll be door to door. People will come out knocking on your door, and some of them have a very long, can't think of the word, sorry, having a little brain.
Protracted. It's a
Yes,
a long
form that they need to fill out. So it's much more information than what we use. All we're asking for, are you still there?
Okay.
Who's in your household? And just sign it on the bottom, please, and send it back to us.
And send it back. So there's a couple of things going on with this census and the importance of it. The first off is what some folks might have noticed during the primary and elections this year is that they weren't on the voting rolls. How does that work?
Well, it's state law that we do, it's a mandate that we send the census out.
Right.
If you don't respond to the census, then I have to make you inactive on the voter list. And we try to reach you, we try to get in touch before we do this, but if we can't reach you, then that's the next step, and that's according to Mass General laws.
Right. So if you don't sign it and send it, we're going to just keep repeating this, sign it and send it back,
Yep.
then you, going into elections for or even town elections can be off those rolls, and you won't have a chance, well, you'll have a chance to vote, but it won't be as smooth a process as you're used to.
Correct. You will not be able to just go in and give your name and your address and get a ballot. You're going to have to go and talk to somebody else, show them that you actually still live at that address so that we can update everything on your census and get you back on the voting rolls.
Right. So the census, it's asking for your street address, it's asking how many kids. Why do you want to know how many kids? They're not voting.
Well, that's a good question. The kids are important so that we know what we have to have for our schools. How many seats do we need in a first grade class or a kindergarten class? Or, gee, has this family moved in and now we have new students going into the middle school or the high school? It's all important information. It's also important for us to know this because it works with grants that the school tries to get too to help the students along in their career.
Right. So it also, I would say, probably does that on the other side of the demographic as well for seniors. Now, those are probably your best folks. They still know how to use the post office and the mail, stamps and things like that, but important for them to be counted as well.
Absolutely, because we still want to keep that information available to somebody like Maddie Noonan, who runs the senior center. Can she get more grants for her seniors because she has X amount? Right. And that's how that does work for us. If we don't have that information, I can't pass it along.
Right.
And it also works for us, we'll know who the oldest person is, so we can go ahead with the Boston Post Cane Award.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot of things. It's high school students that have graduated and now they've gone on to the military. And in Massachusetts, there's a welcome home bonus for someone who's been in the military and gone overseas. When you come back, I have to be able to prove that you lived here.
Right.
I have to find you somewhere. It's got to be on the census.
Okay. And that also talking about high school, because this is the time right now for scholarships.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not on that census, how does that affect?
That affects them as well, because they have to prove in a lot of cases on those scholarship applications that they actually reside in the town of Barnstable.
Right.
So I need to have them on the census so I can certify that for them.
Right. So not only is it, affecting our schools and folks that are moving on from their school career here in Barnstable to either colleges or to the military, but for grants, and I think this grant one is really important that people don't understand is that by showing a specific segment of population, the town has an opportunity to go after grants based on those numbers, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's huge. And it helps defray the cost so everything isn't falling on the taxpayer.
Right. See? Sign it and send it back, right?
Yes, yes. And if there's any changes at all, just write them on there for us and sign it and send it back. And if you have multiple changes, put a phone number on there so we can call you and say, can you help us out with this one?
Okay. So they can call the town clerk's office. They might get your smiling voice on the phone or another one of your wonderful colleagues upstairs. But basically, we just want you to fill it out, sign it, and send it.
Yes, and actually the libraries have been very good about keeping it for us and having a box there, so we'll make sure we get the boxes out to the libraries again. So if you're going to the library and you don't have a stamp, drop it in the box there and we'll eventually get it from them.
Right. And what if they don't get a census?
Oh, call us on the phone.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
All right. So they can get a hold of you and make sure that they get counted.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Ann.
Thank you.
Up next, things to do, places to go, and people to meet. Vineyard Wind is scheduled to hold a public forum in Barnstable tonight, Tuesday evening, March 12th, at the Barnstable Town Hall, second floor hearing room. A brief 15-minute presentation is set to begin at 6:30 p.m., followed by a question and answer session. Learn about the Vineyard Wind project, construction plans between Covels Beach and Independence Park, and the host community agreement between the offshore wind developer and the town. The presentation will cover all aspects of the project in Barnstable, including the transmission lines and connecting to the grid substation on Independence Drive. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. Email us or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works. For you, I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.